So, you have supervision duty today. Whether your assigned area is the playground, the hallway, or the cafeteria, did you know that researchers have actually studied the best way to supervise common areas of schools? In this session, you'll learn what that research says about how to supervise these areas that will not only improve behavior, it will actually create a more positive and a safer school climate and make your supervision duty more enjoyable. According to researchers, there's a right way to supervise common areas on school campuses. Now, when I say common areas, I'm talking about large areas on a school campus where there's a high census, a lot of students, and lightly staffed, like one adult for every 100 or so students. And there's an unstructured activity going on, like lunchtime, playtime, or just hanging out. Think about playgrounds, hallways, outdoor tables, cafeteria, library, sports fields, breezeways, locker rooms, and even computer and art labs. There are 5 main components of how to supervise common areas that I call restorative supervision. First, at the beginning of the school year, you already have established school-wide expectations. So there's consistency and clarity among all the adults. Where are the students supposed to line up? Can they run in this area or not? And how do they transition from class to lunch and so on? Then these expectations are taught to the students on a regular schedule, at least weekly throughout the year. We can't hold students accountable for things we've never told them that we expect. Behavior should be treated like academics. Students need to be taught the skills that they need. Next, your school has a positive reinforcement system, like a ticket or a token, to acknowledge the positive behaviors you want to see and to increase the positive interactions between students and staff. The truth is, your main job during supervision duty is to look for the good behaviors and let the kids know when you see it. Did you know that you'll get 80% better behavior simply by noticing what's going right and acknowledging it? It's the most efficient way to get improved behavior in a school. You should be delivering a steady stream of positive comments with the students, like, "Hey, cool shirt. Thanks for holding that door open. I appreciate it. Nice shot." It might feel strange at first, but you need to talk to the kids and make your presence known in a positive way. It's the little conversations that build relationships. So try to get to know them. Ask about the sports they play and the music they listen to. Next, the researchers identified another key to supervision, and that's moving and scanning. It means constantly walking around in an unpredictable pattern, targeting known problem areas. In fact, the research says about 60 steps a minute. So why is movement so important? It makes supervisors much more visible to students. You can observe more students, more areas, and more activities. You'll increase your proximity to students, and that gives you even more opportunities for positive, proactive student contact and positive reinforcement. And it also increases the likelihood of noticing sneaky, covert, inappropriate behaviors like bullying and harassment. And while you're moving, you're scanning the whole time. When I say scan, I mean you need to look across the area constantly. Don't get too caught up in a single conversation. Watch for behaviors and not just the students themselves. Sometimes you might see like erratic movements or secretive motions, like kids gathering together, and that all could signal a problem. I also like to look at kids' faces to see if they seem upset, and I'll look also for students who seem isolated or alone, and I'll check in with them. Also listen. Sometimes there'll be a spike in the volume of students, like students getting louder, or a group of kids start to whisper and they get quieter. Those of you who spend a lot of time in these spaces, you have a feel for the flow and the sounds and the behaviors. And when those shift even a little, there might be something to pay attention to. Each supervisor should have an assigned area, making sure there's no places on the campus where kids can hide out. Don't forget to supervise bathrooms and locker rooms. These are places where a lot of unsavory things can happen, like bullying, drugs, or alcohol. And some staff may feel really uncomfortable supervising these spaces, but it's important. The best way to supervise locker rooms is to move and scan. Make light conversation, but keep moving. For bathrooms, stand at the door and announce yourself. Like, hey guys, how's it going in there? And then I'll step in, I'll briefly scan the room, and I'll hurry the kids along that are spending too much time in there. If there's a problem, ask the students to come out to the hallway so that you can speak to them in an open area. Then circle back later. If kids know that adults periodically check on these locations, they're less likely to engage in deviant behavior there. The last component is for when things go wrong, which they will. You need to respond with consistent and restorative consequences. The best way to correct and respond to behavior restoratively in common areas is the simple correction sequence and restorative questions. Now, in previous sessions, we talked about how to use both of these strategies in classrooms. So let's talk about how these work in common areas. First, the simple correction sequence. It's based on the work of Jeff Colvin from the University of Oregon. I've included this simple correction sequence in your support materials for you to refer to. Whenever we correct student behavior, we should be calm and businesslike and respectful in our approach. We never argue with students, and we also speak privately to students. We never deliver consequences in a way that would embarrass them in front of other kids. The simple correction sequence goes like this. You notice a student is engaging in a behavior that you don't want, like running in front of the swings or playing on a skateboard in the hallway. The first thing you do is you restate the expectation. We wait here for people who are on the swings. We don't run in front of the swings because it's not safe. Then ask the student to show you. Can you show me you know what to do? And when they do it, just say thank you. That sounds easy, right? But what if they don't comply? All you do is add one additional step, a choice. Like, you can wait here for your turn, or you're going to be off the swings for the rest of recess. When you give a choice, resist the urge to go too big with your consequences. Low-level consequences that are linked to the behavior tend to be better because you're less likely to get pushback than if you get too elaborate. Also, choose something more immediate that you can manage yourself without depending on a lot of other people to follow through with the consequence for you. Like in the example of the student not using the playground equipment safely, a consequence like you have to sit out of recess for the rest of the week is a big hassle for you because now you have to coordinate with all the other people providing supervision. It's way easier to just say, please use the swings correctly or you won't be on the swings for the rest of recess. Also, avoid asking kids to sit out during recess as a consequence. Students need movement. It's better even to say, walk with me, and then talk to them and get to know them. Now, after giving the choice of a low-level logical consequence, say, I'm going to give you a minute to decide, and then wait. Look away, check in with other students, and then turn back and ask, so what did you decide? If you give kids time to think, for their frontal cortex to actually work, they'll almost always choose the right thing. And when they do, just say, thank you. So what if they don't do it? Then you simply deliver the consequence. Okay, it looks like you're choosing to be off of the swings for the rest of recess. That's okay. You can try again tomorrow. And then tomorrow, look for them to display the correct behavior and reward it. But let's say instead of complying with the consequence, they argue with you. Maybe they won't make the choice, or they're escalating things. You've now stepped into what Jeff Sprague calls the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule means that if you can't successfully correct a behavior within 2 minutes, it should be referred to an alternate setting, like the office, or to an alternate staff member. We don't argue with kids, and here's why. If you're being completely calm, respectful, and reasonable, and then the student still isn't calming down or complying with you, chances are that he's waving a red flag that says it's not about you, it's not about here, it's not about now. There's something else going on. This student really needs more attention and intervention than what you can provide right now while you're trying to supervise 100 or more students. You need to refer the student to the office or to another staff member who can spend more time with the student. However, the next time that you see that student, it's important to remember to repair your relationship with them by having a short, restorative conversation. Restorative conversations use the restorative questions to process an incident or a conflict, and they're another important response to challenging behavior in common areas. So, how often are you out there supervising students on the playground or another common area, and a student comes up to you complaining about something about another student? Like, he's bullying me, she won't let me play. Or maybe with older kids, you actually see a conflict brewing, or you see someone being really unkind to another person. When you have a conflict or harm between two students, all you need to do is pull out your restorative questions and have a conversation. The questions work like magic, and there's two sides to them. Side one is for the person who did the harm. And they are, what happened? What were you thinking of at the time? What have you thought about since? Who's been affected by what you did? In what way? What do you think you need to do to make things right? Side two is for the person who was harmed. These questions are, what did you think when you realized what happened? What impact did this have on you and on others? What's been the hardest thing for you? And what needs to happen to make things right? Many people find it helpful to have these questions on a lanyard around their neck or posted around the school for easy access. For this to go smoothly, I would suggest that at the beginning of the year, teach all of the students about the restorative questions. Tell them that all adults are going to use those questions when asking them about their behavior. You can explain that it's not to blame or shame, but to repair any harm and restore relationships. Then, when you want to have a restorative conversation with a student, first pull them aside so that you can remove the audience. If kids think other kids are watching, they're much less likely to calmly work out a solution. Then, pull out your restorative questions and ask side one to the student who did the harm, and then ask restorative questions two for the person who was harmed. Now, if it seems like this is a mutual conflict, there's not one person hurting the other, but instead they're harming each other, you can also just use the questions to do a quick mediation. An easy way to do this is to ask them both the same questions and have them repeat back what the other person is saying. Repeating back helps to slow students down so that they can listen better to each other. While the students are answering the questions, encourage them to listen to each other and listen especially for feelings and needs. Sometimes students need help articulating what they mean, so you can help by reflecting back. So I hear you're saying that it hurt your feelings, is that correct? Just remember that in restorative practices, the people in the conflict, they own the problem, not you. You should be as impartial as possible, and you're on both of their sides. So encourage the students to acknowledge the part they played in the conflict by assuring them that you're not there to blame them or to punish them. Finally, the students make a plan to repair the harm and they make it right. You're just the facilitator here, so try not to push any agenda, but instead use the questions to lead them to a solution that they both can live with. The steps are outlined in your support material for you to review. In future sessions, we're going to talk about how to facilitate more intensive restorative conversations, like restorative mediation, circles, and conferences, as well as other PBIS interventions that you can use to address student behavior and respond to harm when it happens. By using all 5 components of restorative supervision, you'll create a more positive and a safer campus. In fact, I've rarely seen a faster shift in school climate and culture than when schools change the way they supervise their students. It seems to have some sort of exponential effect. All the adults are moving and scanning and smiling at the kids. We know that students work the hardest and behave the best for staff whom they like and respect. And the best way to get there is to like and respect them first.